Well, good evening. The Who's today were on at Rosehill. The track was dead, upgraded to good, I think. But then we, of course, the rail was in the normal position. There was an easterly wind blowing. Uh, the track today, it's amazing how what happened here today. That we before race 8, we had a very heavy shower. It started raining very lightly about 5 minutes before they jumped, and then gradually increased till when uh, they raced in a very heavy shower, and of course they stayed close to the fence in this race. It was the Canterbury Stakes, and won by the favourite Piero, and the track all of a sudden switched around, and of course the last race came around, and the Avery Senator Noche, it of course crossed and from the outside alley, barrier 10, field of 10, and found the fence and never left it, and won by 1.3 lengths. Now that was the place which was quicksand in the previous 7 races, and no one, if you went there, you didn't have a 100 to 1 chance. But it's amazing what that little bit of rain did to this track. It completely turned it around. That's how fickle some of these tracks are in Sydney. Now, I've had this is my second go at doing this. I'm absolutely filthy. I got right to the end of it the first time, and something happened. So I'm going to go through this quickly. I suppose everyone says thank God for that. But anyway, in this first race, they said there was 104.9 on the screen, and there was only 97 in the marketplace. And the interesting thing about this race is, if it would have won, uh, with the concerning the betting, I'm saying, if it would have won Hot Schnitzel and you had backed at SP, you were going to receive $3.70 less the deduction for the scratching of Hidden Warrior, who was presented into the parade ring with its work shoes on, and that's the reason it was scratched. Unfortunately, the farrier was fined 500, but it was going to be returned $3.70 Hot Schnitzel now, or even $3.50. That was after the scratching of Hidden Warrior. Well, I had after the scratching $4.60 on my board. That's a huge difference without any deductions. It was a strange betting race. Hot Schnitzel, I must admit, I got plenty of section out of it at $3.50 and $3.40. You could fill your bag at one stage. As I say, it started $4.60 on my board. And this, nobody actually had jerried, I'd say, after the first race, but it made me think a bit, and plenty of other people, whether the inside was the place to be, because they stayed a little bit away from the fence in this first race, but coming from a clear last where it was always going to be, was the winner, See the World, who was extremely well backed from $9 into $6 before the scratching, and when it came out, of course, it was a little bit around about the $6, hard to get. Um, and as I say, it came from well back. It led Welcome Gold. There was a bit of a buffeting match between a few runners when they hit the first bend. It was trapped very wide, Harara. Hot Schnitzel was trapped wide. Didn't cost a lot, got squeezed up between runners, but is fairly limited, didn't cost a lot. And there was a fortune put on it, $5 into $3.50 before the scratching. But you still could have got the $3.50 after the scratching, or $3.40 at least. Um, and it dropped out and ran last. The winner came from well back. I suppose the way the track, we weren't to know, but the way the track was going to play for the next 6 races, and well, 7 races including this race, is most probably one of the reasons why it won so well. The second race, Gay produced for the second time in Sydney Overreach, the filly, um, and it strolled in. Now on the screen they said there was 107.3. In the marketplace there was only a neat 100. Um, we put them up 6-4 bar at the top one, Villa Verde, who of course had a victory over Overreach in Melbourne at their first starts. But it got out to $3.70 at one stage, but started 3.20. We put it up 3-1 on chance Overreach. Now one captain on the fence did let you lay $1.50 on. He let you lay the 2 on. It was only there for a little short period, but it was there. $1.45 easy to get. It was started at $1.45, returned $1.40, and it won very, very easily. It was taken straight to the front, and of course it was a good 4 or even a little bit more off the fence turning for home. Didn't want to go near the fence. Tommy Terrific. It was breathing down its neck, the second pick, and Tommy Terrific said, well, he waited for a little while to see if he'd come up on his outside, and he couldn't, and then he slapped Overreach up, and Tommy Terrific and Overreach went away to win by 4.5 lengths. She's going to be the clear favourite for the slipper, and the second horse will need to improve a lot to turn the tables. Race 3, there was a big difference in the flux screen here, and what you could have got 108.4 on the flux screen, but only 95 in the marketplace. And this winner led all the way, or more or less all, got the lead when they hit the first bend. Julian's leading when they hit the first bend was its stablemate. I Own the Lead, Under the Sun, but the other I Own the Lead, Julian's, was able to go around it and find the bunny and control the race to the turn. And when he turned for home, Nash, he was able to get off the fence. Well, he wasn't on it. He was able to get off the fence. And when he dug it up very vigorously, showed all of his vigor, Nash, it ducked out very badly under pressure, nothing on its outside. He was well clear at the time. He might have got a good 3 to 4 lengths in front, and he finished up winning by 1 3/4 lengths, making up a lot of ground from well back in the field with Lumiere and also Leroy, who both of them were very, very good runs. Hoi Lonnie was very disappointing, the favourite. Now, these were the flux. Sanagas was always $51. Alma's Fury went from $7.50 out to $10. Julian's, one of the first runners, back to $11. First bet laid in the book was $5,500. Started $8.50. Leroy, 7 out to 9, back into about $8 or even $7.50. Single, very well back from $7.50 into about $5.50, hard to get. Now, Frozen Rope, it didn't have a price, pulled up lane, settled down in last position, and was always well back in the run. It went from a $7 chance out to $15. Hoi Lonnie opened up 460, got out to 6, back into about 480. Carry Me Bluey was labelled at $16. Lumiere, they took $7.50 off you, or $7 at one stage, but started $7.50. Isa Babe was labelled at 51, and the bottom one, Under the Sun, earlier the piece was $11 into 9. It started $13. The winner, well, it did a good job, the winner, with the second and third horses making up plenty of ground. The fourth race, they said there was 105.6 on the screen, just a tick under for the Colts in the Todman Slipper Trial, 99 maybe. And this race was won by Criterion, the Black Opal winner. Now, of course, when the gates opened, Sidestep, ridden by Catwalk Corey Brown, it jumped very awkwardly and blundered, and Corey wasn't able to stay aboard. It never got hurt, which is the main thing. And of course, it didn't come near once the rider was dislodged. It stayed well away from the field. The smart horse, it must be, and it raced very wide and finished last, which is not a good sign. It didn't chase very hard, but I suppose you can't put that against it. This, of course, run that I'm talking about, Sidestep, it ran second to the winner Criterion in the Black Opal, and at Canberra that day, of course, after the first few races, it was very evident the inside was no good at Canberra, and it was best to come down the outside, and that's where Criterion came. Whereas Sidestep sat outside the leader that day, pulled a bit in the early part and was ridden hard to get into that position. And of course, it did a very good job to stick on. We'll never ever know if you never go, but maybe Sidestep may have won the race if the rider wasn't dislodged at the start. Whiskey All Around, it started favourite. It had the inside alley, which wasn't a place to be. And when asked by the Stipes, McMahon said, oh, well, it was most probably a better run than it looked because I thought where I was the ground was inferior. Race 5, they said there was 105.6 on the screen and there was only 97% in the marketplace. Going back to race 4, Charlie Boy was fairly disappointing, and the winner came down the right section of the track off the back of the second horse, but it was still a good win. Race 5. Now this was a very good result for the captains. Talking about Toy Dini, it opened up $5, got out to $5.50 quickly, then $6, $6.50, $7, $7.50. Started $8. It has been gelded, this horse, of course, even though it was given a good run in about sixth position by Blake Shin and got around the heels, the right section of the track. It was by far the best run. It won by 2.3 lengths. Leading in the race was I Own the Lead Indianapolis. Had the blinks on today. It plugged away, finished back in the ruck. How was it going to win? And the others were a little bit disappointing. They more or less had their chance because they raced off the fence, and the winner absolutely strolled into the finish. It sat outside the lead, Ninth Legion. It held on to that position. It ran second, but the winner beat it easily. It had every possible chance. Force Command and the fourth horse, Albrecht, they sat in third and fourth positions to the turn. Race 6, they said there was 101.6 on the screen and only 97% in the marketplace. And in this race, this was another very big result for the captains. Fortelia, it was, well, I didn't see it, but apparently $51 was given about this run. It opened up 26 out to 51, apparently, I'm not too sure. Best I bet was $31, and it took out a good bit of section in my book at $31. I was glad to see it come along and beat the favourite 5.5 star, ridden by proper Peter Roble. It went straight to the lead as everybody thought it would, the 3-year-old, and it set a nice solid pace, was able to get clear of Gatewood, who sat on its outside turning for home. And I must admit, all the captains who had stood the favourite, we were feeling gone sick because it had strolled away with a really big break, at least 3 lengths, if not further, but then started hanging out under pressure, and coming from about 6th position was an easing off heels, but not going around the winner because it was hanging out under pressure, but getting inside it, getting up inside it, but still in the middle of the track was the winner, Fortelia. Of course, apprentices couldn't claim in this race, but of course there was 3 kilos off for the pumper, Jay Cassidy, and he would have known around about the 100-metre mark. He said, "Oh, unfortunately, Proper Peter, I'm going to grab you. It's not going to grab you by far, but I'm going to get you," and he did, and he beat him by a half a length on the line, but they were well clear of the others. It was 3.3 lengths back to a Lucky Day, finish up running third, coming from last, and along the inside as well. The winner was the best run in the race. There were some very poor performances. Managar, which opened up $8, got out to 12. It sat in the 1-1 position. They said they were going to ride it closer today. They did, but to finish up running last, beaten 13.2 lengths. It's going to have to improve a lot if it's going to look like winning a race in Sydney this campaign. Race 7, the Coolmore. Well, this was a very close finish. Leading in the race was Steps in Time, velodroming from barrier 14, the outside alley, finding the lead and controlling the race. Steps in Time, ridden by Nash, stayed off the fence coming to the turn, got clear. I suppose if you were on it, you looked happy halfway up the straight, but then they started coming. Coming off its back was Red Tracer, who would have been a fantastic result for the captains. It would have been a Skinner. It opened up $21, got out to 31, and when it had got past Steps in Time, not far before the line, coming down the outside after easing off heels in about 6th position, was the winner, Appearance, who was very well backed. $11 out to 14 taken, back into about $12. And coming from about 3 or 4 horses behind it, at least, was Norzita, who got to the outside in the better section, and it loomed up, and it looked like it was going to grab them with say 30 metres to go, but then the 3 of them settled down to fight it out, and right on the line, Appearance stuck its eye, I suppose, out in front to beat to beat Red Tracer, and another I suppose away was another nose away was Norzita. A very, very close finish. It held on for third, 4 steps in time, and making up plenty of ground from back in the field. A very strong finishing run after missing the kick and copping a bit of a check at the start, and having to well, he could have gone. You could have driven 6 horses through on the inside, but of course even his rider, I'm talking about Zarella's rider Jay Collette, he knew it was no good in there, and instead of going inside where there was miles of room, he switched around the horse's heels and then and finished inside steps in time, but it made up plenty of ground, finding the line very strongly. It's obviously not a bad little netty. Then we came to race 8, and as I was saying, it's amazing how fickle these tracks are with the amount of rain that we had, which wasn't a real lot. It swung this track right around. Coming across from the outside velodroming was Rain Affair to find the fence from barrier 10, the outside alley, and coming across and sitting on its outside was Moment of Change, and tucking away third on the fence, Piero, and behind it was More Joyous. I must admit, I thought More Joyous might have been in front of Piero, and Piero would have had to come off More Joyous's back to beat it, but I was completely and utterly wrong. It was the other way around, and the 3-year-old is obviously a very, very good horse. But as I say, Rain Affair led. When they turned for home, it dropped off very quickly. Moment in Change, it ran last, beaten 8.9 lengths. Peter Moody saying that it mightn't have travelled up too well from Melbourne, and when it dropped off, of course, the winner round, he had to go around one horse, and that was Rain Affair, and tailing it through was the stablemate, the champion mare More Joyous, and there was .8 of a length between them when they hit the line. She was very, as they say, gallant in defeat, More Joyous, but the winner is obviously very good, only receiving 1 kilo, the 3-year-old from the 6-year-old. That was about it. Being trapped wide in the run was Solozitz, and it sat in 6th position wide, and it did a good job to run third, beaten 2.3 lengths, and that was about it. By the way, well, they said there was 100. You just knew there had to be something wrong here. They said there was 112.6 on the screen, so immediately in Sydney, especially for Saturday, if they say there's 112.6, you know there's something wrong with the marketplace. But by the same token, there was 105. These were the flux. Happy Trails 40 out to 50. Rain Affair 20 out to 41, back to 31. Moment of Change $4.40 into $4 back out to 4.20. Sol Zitzen was 40 out to 50. Fontalina 100 out to 150. Aeronautical 30 out to 40. More Joyous $3.50 out to $4.40, back to 4.20, back to 4.40. Secret Admirer 26 to 31. Midsummer Music 61 out to 101, and the Avery Piero it opened up evens, never ever moved off evens until towards the end of betting. I like an absolute steam tug. I was $2.10 for the last 3 or 4 minutes of betting, and I paid the penalty dearly. Race 9, and starting that price on my board. Race 9. Now they said there was 102.7 on the screen, but about 5 less in the marketplace, 97. Quickly, these were the flux. New Day Rising 26 to 51 to 31. Agista 20 to 26 back to 17. Ernest 13 to 17 back to 12. Australian Star 9 out to 11 back to 10. Raceway 20 out to 30 back to 26. Snitsky 5 to 5.50 back to $3.80 second pick. Territory 12 to 15 back to 13. Segway was 9 out to 11 back to 9. And then Yingla was 8 out to 10 back into 9. And the Avery, Senator Nouche, $3 out to $3.30 into $2.90. I was $3.40 when they jumped, and laying it again like an absolute mug, paying the penalty. Now this race, even though it's won, it had the outside alley. There were 10 runners. It was the perfect alley for it. We knew this before they jumped. He velodromed, came across, found the bunny, and as I say, the previous races 1 through to 7, it wasn't the place to be near the fence. You couldn't possibly win there. very fickle, the track. The bit of rain that we had, when he velodrome came across and found the fence, he stayed close against it all the way and won by 1.3 lengths, was able to skip clear turning for home. By the same token, you have to form your own opinion. I'm going to form my own opinion. This race was, all of the other runners in this race, they played skittles with each other. They were knocking each other down, and while this was all happening, of course, the favourite had just skipped away with a big break, and the second, third, and fourth horses made up plenty of ground on it. But of course, the bird had flown. There were other runners in that race that copped checks in the race, like Segway and so forth. And it was a very, very funny run race. It was how it was run was the result. That was about it. I hope you had some luck. Kembla Grange is on tomorrow. If you bet, I hope you won. Good evening.